For the people of Louisiana, I thank you for inviting me to be part of this beautiful evening. Thank you so very much. So I've got a few things to say, so get comfortable for a minute, all right? So, I've been traveling the country, and a lot of people have been asking me, Kamala, what gives you hope? My answer includes people like the folks in this room who stand up for one another, who never flinch when times get tough, who keep fighting no matter the odds. People who still have faith in that simple yet ambitious idea at the heart of our founding, that in America the power belongs to the people. And right now, folks, we are being called upon to defend the truth of those very words. Because Louisiana, we find ourselves in a moment when power has consolidated in the hands of the few. Where so many, too many, are struggling to get by, much less get ahead. Where we've lost trust in our economy, in our government, and worst of all, in many cases, lost trust in each other. And we didn't get here by accident. Take our economy. For decades, leaders bought into the flawed idea that the free market left to itself would benefit everyone. They let jobs disappear overseas while your wages stood still. They gutted our safety net, leaving families to fend for themselves. They let corporations consolidate and dictate higher prices. And, real talk, some of these policies were not just supported by Republicans, but by Democrats too. All told, the result is that for far too many, the American dream has become an American myth. People kept working hard, kept doing everything right, but it didn't pay off. And I've been traveling and talking to folks in the places where I've been going. I recently met a woman in Mississippi. She's raising 3 children by herself on a weekly food budget for the 4 of them of $150, which buys even less now because of Trump's tariffs. I met a child care provider in North Carolina who can barely afford gas after this president took our country into that war in Iran. I met a bartender in Georgia who works multiple shifts but cannot afford his premiums because Republicans cut tax credits for health care. And to make matters worse, Donald Trump and Republicans in Congress gave the richest Americans $1 trillion in tax cuts, while everyone else pays for it with $1 trillion in more expensive health care. In today's America, the cost of living is a crisis. But those at the very top just don't seem to get it. I guess they just can't see it from way up there. And as power has concentrated at the top of our economy, power has also concentrated in our politics. We have a campaign finance system where dark money drives the political agenda. We have a Supreme Court that, with Citizens United, allowed anonymous, wealthy donors to dominate our elections. And just recently, they resurrected Jim Crow in Louisiana versus Calais. Essentially, they backdoored racism under the guise of politics. And so I say to the friends here, Louisiana, you are ground zero. In your state, 1/3 of the population is black, so 1/3 of your delegation in the House of Representatives is black. And thank you, Troy Carter and Cleo Fields. That is proportional representation. But under this new map, that representation will be cut in half. And nationally, over the next few years, 1/3 of the entire Congressional Black Caucus could be wiped off the map, stifling the voices of tens of millions of Americans. And why, you may ask? So that Republicans can tighten their grip on power. Folks, take it from a former prosecutor. A concentration of power leads to corruption. And when the entrenched elite hold all the wealth and power, regular folks get left behind. Think about this. Since Donald Trump has been president, his wealth has grown by over $2 billion. Just since he's been president this time. Meanwhile, Americans' household debt has grown by $740 billion. But let's be clear, Donald Trump isn't just the source of the problem. He is also a symptom. That awful kind of symptom that festers, when you don't treat the underlying disease. In this case, the concentration of power. And make no mistake, there is a cabal of co-conspirators around him who coddle his corruption. Corruption that, by the way, is no victimless crime. Every minute they tend to his fragile ego is a minute they're doing nothing to help you. They would rather put money in his pockets than help you afford health care. They would rather build his gilded ballroom than reduce your grocery bill. They would rather try to silence their critics than help you fill your gas tank. Their people deploy ICE to terrorize our neighbors who will not lift a finger to help you make rent. They'll spend $125 billion on Trump's war in Iran, while folks can't even cover their basic needs here in America. This is the most callous, corrupt, and incompetent administration in America's history. So it's a lot. And of course, the good news is that Donald Trump will be turned out. However, let us also be clear, there is no term limit on this new Republican Party. And folks, there is a deep moral corruption about this new Republican Party. It is a political movement grounded in their belief that power should belong to some, but not shared by all. They choose winners and losers. That's how they play. In our economy, they lift up the top and beat down the rest. They embrace blood and soil nationalism, claiming that only certain citizens truly count as Americans. Corruption infects every level of their administration, from Trump's self-dealing to the guy who operates the teleprompter and then bet money on the words Trump would say. Think about that. Their ideology is clearly to create a smash and grab world, to sow chaos, grab wealth, and abuse power. And here's what's also apparent. They don't truly understand the American people. They don't understand our character. They don't understand our values. And they certainly do not understand that we, the American people, do not surrender our power without a fight. And as I travel the country, people are saying, we want our leaders to fight. They don't want leaders who are stuck supporting a broken status quo or backed by millions of dollars in dark money. They want leaders who have moral conviction and know how to fight. And in this fight, I say, we start by getting comfortable with some things, including having a certain kind of ruthlessness. Now, I don't mean ruthlessness like the cruelty they show. I mean the kind that is uncompromising in its impatience with injustice, that shows no mercy for corruption, that fights back hard when they threaten the power of the people. That is the kind of ruthlessness that must be the attitude of the Democratic Party. And tonight, I therefore also call for us to apply that attitude to revive the promise of the American dream for a new generation. That fundamental promise that when you work hard, opportunity will follow. And how do we get there? Well, it includes that we demand that our public dollars make housing and health care and child care more affordable. That we address decades of inequality in America's tax code. That we set up every young person with the skills they need to find a good job and live a good life in today's economy, unburdened by a lifetime of debt. And that we create guardrails around AI so it serves the people and not just profit. And so these are just some examples of the work that we have ahead. But to get it done, we also need to break up the concentration of political power, especially given Calais. Because let's speak truth. If we want to revive the American dream, if we want to uplift the power of the people, if we want to do something about voting rights or money in politics, we've got to win elections. We've got to win elections. Starting with these midterms. And since they're cheating, we're going to have to turn out big numbers. A turnout that is too big to rig. And when we're back in charge, we're going to have to take a hard look at America's current political system. Let's be ready for that. We have to have the courage to take a hard look at the Electoral College and our corrupted Supreme Court and statehood for D.C. and Puerto Rico if they choose, and overturning Citizens United. We need to be prepared for those difficult conversations. And we also need to look in the mirror and hold ourselves accountable. Government has to earn the trust of the people. And that means responding to the actual needs of the people. Not with bureaucracy, but with speed and transparency. Not with process, but with progress. We also cannot sit around hoping Republicans will have an epiphany and do the right thing. Because the American people cannot afford to wait. Your rent can't wait. Your grocery bill can't wait. That invoice from your son's child care center cannot wait. That bill from your mother's doctor cannot wait. People need leaders to get things done, and Democrats, we have a duty to get it done. So let's not wait around asking for permission to exercise our power. We've got to know our power and use our power. The people deserve no less. So I'll close with this. Louisiana, the midterms are in 3 months. And we are not about to throw up our hands. We are about to roll up our sleeves. We are going to put on our sneakers and knock on some doors, rally our neighbors, text our friends, and most importantly, vote. Vote in numbers like they've never seen before. Because, look, even when the fight takes a while, and sometimes it does, the fundamental truth remains. When we fight, we win. God bless you and God